15 to 20 minutes, and he writes very limited notes. He could do it, but he gets on his phone. Mm. So I've told him I'm going to have to take that phone with me. Like, I literally talked to this man like a child, trying to over and over and over and over. And he says, I have changed his life. I have changed it because he knows what he's got.
And he'll take this from you?
Yeah, oh God.
Okay, in which case, he's come in with his backpack and say, and you go, good morning, I'll take the phone. And then you just, okay.
I haven't tried taking the phone.
And then you just say, I'm still waiting.
Until you do better.
You just say, I'm still waiting for yesterday's charts. Please get them done.
No, see, I have to get the charts every day because I have to write when they're checking out.
Okay.
I have to, in order for those charts to be 100% done, I need the chart back, and I put the date and what service was done and how they paid. This way, whether I'm there or who's over there, it's a habit for that new person to do it. He could open up that chart and see what they paid with, how much they paid.
What is your solution? You take his phone away.
That's the phone is the issue, yeah. The phone is the issue.
And he can have it back at lunchtime.
And you think he's willing to give you the phone?
Oh, heck no. No. I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to fight me. I've seen it, and I just thought about something. Okay, I was in church. This may seem weird, but my pastor was having, he's, giving stories like they do, and he said 5 years ago, the average person was in front of a screen 4 to 4.5 hours a day. Today, it's 11 hours. And it's hit right here. And that's why you don't see me on Facebook that much.
Good. I'm an advocate of not being... Of being more present. Listen, One of the very first things, I coached Amber 5 years ago. And one of the very first things I had her do was limit her screen time. Because when I realized that it was impacting her relationships and she wasn't really being present, she was constantly... And she stuck to it all these years later. And then I know I did with you, Tanya, right? I did with you. That's great.
I've limited considerably to what I used to do.
Oh, me too.
It improves the quality of your life.
Unless it was like a flight where
it's
something very special. And I wanted to share with the world what this was. But no more. That's sunk in, and I think he needs to acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. So even and it's idle chit chat because I did a flyer for him to promote him being able to do sports physicals, and now's the time. While you got school's about to end, you've got to get that in order for them to participate in summer programs, whatever sports, or before you go to school and play a sport, team sport. So I said, did you email that flyer out to that you rushed me to do? And I actually came up with it, and when I mentioned it to him, go ahead, take care of that. It was coming up because it was could be a potential financial gain for him. So I thought of it. I'm like, you can do sports physicals, right? Because he is the acupuncturist for FSU football team as well as their track and field. So, and he's the only person, and he's the only chiropractor that I know of both. So he's got a great service, and I totally believe in it. But he just
so since taking the phone away is not an option,
I hadn't tried it.
But you did have a conversation with him about taking the phone away.
No, I made in jest.
I don't know if taking the phone away is going to work. I think most people will be like, "You've got to be kidding me! Who do you think you are?"
Then you'll sit down on the computer and play.
Right. And so I think you need to humanize the thing, right? What I think you need to do is talk to him about how much you respect what he does, because you do.
I do.
And so if you let him know, I know I'm leaving soon. He knows you're leaving soon, right? You know I'm leaving soon, but before I go, I want to leave you with a couple things that I think may help you.
And you need to think about.
And that I would like you to think about.
Okay.
And say, first, let me say, I have so much respect for what you do and your abilities and potential impact. I think you haven't even begun to reach where you can be. I've worked with a lot of people through the years, and leadership is one of the things that I'm really passionate about. And I think you could really serve yourself well with a couple of minor tweaks. And then you put it out there. For example, when you approach somebody, ask permission to interrupt whatever they're doing their work. For example, to keep up with things so they don't become overwhelming, instead of getting on your phone, spend that 15 minutes and just get it done so that it's not a concern. And it'll help not just you, but it'll help with billing and ultimately with paying, ultimately with your income when you do this. And just see what he says. I think if you approach it that way, where it doesn't really seem like you're saying, give me your phone, you're not gonna.
I have tried some of the things you just mentioned, because he really is not going to be able to progress, because the most in a day that he can see is 8 people, because of the length of time the service requires. Mm-hmm. So instead of utilizing those few minutes to, I in my mind don't understand, okay, I'm writing my chart down, it's done, I have peace of mind then that I am 100% done when I get to, but he hides stuff, and this is, when he first came out of school, he had a ready-made practice with an established business, and so he had staff to do everything for him. But your notes are always, nobody else can do those notes but you. So it's almost like he just is being rebellious, like a rebellious child. Well,
so I would just take this approach again, that you're leaving, and if there's 3 things, start positive, compliment sandwich, and then just say, if there's 3 things that I think would help you improve, and I would make the 3rd one the coming in late thing.
It's so embarrassing.
Well,
to
and
me.
that's what you say. You say don't use embarrassing. Just say, when you come in late, the message you're sending to people is that your time is more valuable than theirs. That it doesn't send a message of professionalism and competence, but I would just try that technique.
And he's like, oh, but they love me. I'm like,
well, so what if they love you? They'll love you more if they don't have to wait. They will. They'll love you a lot more.
They have to go to work. They have to go to things,
right.
and they make them dread coming to you simply because they know they can't count on you
for time management.
Yeah. So
okay.
Amber's back. She messaged me a little while ago saying she was coming back. Oh, how are you? I'm sorry. We're doing role play right now.
Oh,
yeah. Aw.
I played an obnoxious chiropractor that's irresponsible. I did a very good job.
She did. She was good at the role play.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, but I would just try that approach. And, and even say, I think that you have so much untapped potential. And if there were 3
minor tweaks.
With these minor tweaks.
Okay.
And give that a shot.
That's all I can do.
We're talking about holding people accountable who may be in positions that are above you or that aren't even in your chain of command. So thinking about the scenario you presented earlier, what can be done?
I mean, the only thing that can be done is it's a process. So the first step would be to go to their general counsel, someone who can advise me what the next step in the process is versus publicly shaming him. Mm-hmm. So I've done that. I've reached out to Cassandra, filed a formal complaint. From there, it's
and what is the allegation that you're giving in the complaint?
So it's the tone. It's diminishing the diminishing tone, and then the threat of funding, which he has no ability and or power to do.
Overstepping.
It is completely decided by a citizen review team.
Now, are you able to? Is your name going to be out there with this thing, or is it anonymous, or how does it work?
Right now, it's a UPHS complaint.
Okay.
If it gets to the point where nothing's done and UPHS says we will not come, I will personally come forward because while it will have some repercussions personally and professionally, I'm sure I'll be blacklisted. It's about doing what's right. And I can't sit by to allow anybody with that type of power to threaten those 4 specific agencies, but human services in general that are doing an incredible service to our community.
Who does he look up to?
That's a good question.
I would
Because if there was somebody he looks up to, like if I was a really powerful person and I was misbehaving or something like that, and people were afraid to approach me, if they approached Mary Pankowski, who came alongside me.
But you look at her as a mentor.
I look at her as a good friend and mentor.
I think
Who does he look up to?
I think I would say he would look up to Steve Evans, and he probably looks up to Vince Long, but he also, in that same regard, he looks at them